Okay, let's move on. We've got some interesting young players that we've been watching ever since rookie camp, one which we wish that we have been able to watch a little bit more,
yes.
And that's the first-round pick, Devante Parker. What's the update on Parker?
We saw him running today. You saw him.
I did, yes.
You caught him on video
yes,
running.
You follow me on Instagram, Matt Lincoln too. Yes, he looked great, jogging very, very slowly.
Yes. What people have to understand is Devante Parker has not conditioned in 2 months.
Yeah.
Imagine just being any kind of athlete and not conditioning, not even being able to run for 2 months because of the screw that he had replaced in his right foot. People got to understand, while he is your first-round pick, while he is your new toy, and you certainly want to play with your new toy, if you rush him onto that field and he's not ready and he re-aggravates that foot injury, which he's had repaired twice now within the 1 year period, you could be setting his career back.
Right.
Think about how much a receiver runs on those feet. Think about how important the feet are for push-off and all those things. You have Devante Parker technically under contract for 5 years if you opt into his fifth-year contract. Why would you rush him to play him the first half of his rookie season if you have him for 5 years? And
it's the little bit of the easier half of the season, the way the schedule is set up.
There is no such thing as an easier half of the season. I do not believe in that. Well, you have a lot of road games in the first half of the season, which would make me think it's tougher.
At
home
Washington,
games at the second half.
Okay,
come on.
Well, anyway, I don't want to get into that.
You could lose
Sure,
any.
you could lose
any given Sunday.
I think most Dolphins fans know that it's going to be a little bit slow going with Parker. Do you think he'll be active at the start of the season?
I project right now he's going to begin the season on the PUP.
Okay.
Just from the standpoint, the Dolphins will have a 6-week window to get him on the practice field. It's not like he's going to miss the entire season. And they need the roster space right now. Right now, Rashard Matthews is balling. You don't need Devante Parker. Kenny Stills is got the calf injury. He still needs to develop chemistry with Ryan Tannehill. You got Greg Jennings. You got Jarvis Landry. Do you need Devante Parker? How much do you need him?
I mean, if there was one spot on the offense that you can take that loss, it is probably with Parker for the time being. Stills did practice today, looked pretty good, made some nice catches, and everyone was talking about how excited they were to have him back. Defensive, Jordan Phillips, how does he fill into this D-line rotation? We already know how many great guys that the
they've got a defensive line that is too deep. You would think that this defensive line can go start for the Tennessee Titans. I'm just throwing out a name of a team, not calling out Tennessee Titans defensive line. Shelby, Terrence Fede, who I think has had a very impressive camp. Now, the question is, who's he beating? Because there's no real tackle there that belongs on a 53-man roster. But Jordan Phillips, he played well in the exhibition game. I think he's learning, growing. I expect him to be the nose tackle in the 52 defense that they have, where they put 5 defensive linemen on the field at the same time. I think he's a good run stuffer. The question is he going to be able to do more? I'm not necessarily sure. Conditioning has been a big issue with him throughout his career. He looks fine right now. Will he stay fine? We have absolutely no idea. And it's sort of the same deal with Devante Parker. They don't really need him to do more. They need him to improve, get out there. They need him to be a rotational player, because with Ndamukong Suh, Earl Mitchell, they usually rotate in at least 3 defensive linemen. That leaves Anthony Johnson, Jordan Phillips, C.J. Mosley, if he makes the team, and A.J. Francis in the mix. And really, they want to give it to Jordan Phillips because he's the second-round pick. You know how that works. On the other side, Jamil Douglas at offensive line. You know, the offensive guard is maybe the biggest question mark. The biggest question mark on the team. Hot mess.
How much is he? Obviously, he's in the rotation. Is he going to be the starter week 1? I don't think he's going to be the starter week 1. While he did okay in the exhibition game, think about the competition that you're also facing. Not just that, but really, you're hearing a lot of teams, a lot of people associated with the team talk up Dallas Thomas. And while he's battling a shoulder injury, he played pretty well in the exhibition opener. And then Billy Turner. Billy Turner is the guy that they came into camp with the most confidence for. And yes, he's getting his face beat in by Ndamukong Suh, but that's going to happen, and hopefully that makes him better. But I really do see Billy Turner and Dallas Thomas beginning the season as a starter, and primarily the reason why I do see that is because Jamil Douglas is being cross-trained and playing both guard spots. When you look at the rookie class, lots of excitement for those sort of 3 guys. And then when Jay Ajayi got selected at the 5th overall pick, 5th round pick, that was a guy that everyone sort of got really excited about. Oh yeah, he's that big physical back that's going to change this offense. I don't know if anyone's
any rookie's stock has dropped as far as Ajayi has. Just when you look at the other running backs have looked really good. There's really not a lot of snaps for him out there, I don't think.
No, I think there's snaps. I just think that he's been sort of a disappointment.
Yeah.
From the standpoint, I hear a lot of people talk about Mike Tannenbaum and say his blocking, if he can't pass block, he's not going to play. LaMichael James can't pass block.
Right.
So that's not the problem. That's not what's going to hold him back. To me, what's going to hold him back, and I noticed this early in when we were doing OTAs.
Right.
Look, Jay Ajayi wants to run everything to the outside. He's not hitting his gaps. He's not going in between the tackles. He's not seeing it and taking it. What he's trying to do is outrun the defensive ends who are trying to set an edge. You can't do that in the NFL. Mm-hmm. You might have been able to do that at Boise, but you're not going to do that in the NFL. And to play for Joe Philbin, I learned this with Reggie Bush. Joe Philbin disliked Reggie Bush. Not because Reggie Bush wasn't a great guy, not because he wasn't a great back, not because he didn't have talent. Joe Philbin disliked him because he didn't put his foot in the ground and go upfield.
Right.
He tap danced too much in the backfield. He wanted to run it to the outside. Joe Philbin wants you to stick your foot in that ground and go upfield. And that's what Jay Ajayi needs to learn how to do in order to move his way up the depth chart.
Right. 2-minute warning. I want another question about Ajayi, though. You'd think he'd have to come out and prove that he's a better back than Damian Williams to get on the field, and he really hasn't done that at all.
No, not at all. I don't even think he's a better back than LaMichael James. Really, he's competing with Mike Gillislee, and I haven't seen anything tangibly that can tell me that he's clearly better than Mike Gillislee. They're going to keep 4 backs on the 53-man roster. Jay Ajayi, he's battling a hamstring injury. Hopefully he gets over that hamstring injury, but right now it's not looking good for him. I'm not saying he's not going to be on the 53-man roster, but he needs to get out there on the field and show that he can be the physical back that the Dolphins thought they drafted.
Quickly, how about the young cornerbacks?
I like Bobby McCain. I like Tony Lippett. I even like Cedric Thompson, the young safety. I think, in my opinion, Bobby McCain, before he had the hamstring injury, he was pushing for playing time. He was pushing it to be the top 3 cornerback. But right now, that's the problem with rookies. Consistency.
Right.
Can they bring consistency to the table? Joe Philbin, the number one thing he asks for is consistency. And Bobby McCain hasn't shown it yet. Cedric Thompson is growing and getting better, but the safety position is pretty deep. And then Tony Lippett, while he makes plays, fundamentally he's got to get better as a cornerback. He's a former college receiver at Michigan State, very, 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 very raw technically.
Mm. Well, they've learned from a great player in Brent Grimes, so
Definitely.
hopefully they'll continue to improve.